Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch 2, which a lot more details have just leaked on over the last few days. Now, we've known that the Nintendo Switch 2 was going to be a thing that inevitably came for quite a long time now, right? For instance, the Nintendo Switch is already one of the best-selling video game consoles of all time. Some of Nintendo's most beloved games have come for the Nintendo Switch. The console has already sold almost 150 million units. And this is something that came out in 2017, right? So we've known for a while that there was going to be a follow-up to the Nintendo Switch. Now we finally know a little bit more about it, when we should expect a official reveal from Nintendo, some of the spec details about the console. So I wanted to make this video talking about it because obviously this is huge news. This is significant news for the gaming industry. Anytime Nintendo drops new hardware, people are going to be paying attention, and there's a lot to pay attention with the Nintendo Switch 2. So I want to go ahead and get right on into this one, but I want to go ahead and say, before we get into anything, if you're brand new around here on the channel, make sure you hit like and subscribe down below so that you don't miss any more videos that I upload. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the Switch 2. So more details have just leaked over the last 24 to 48 hours that we're going to go ahead and break down here. So this is a console that we now have details on. There's even some. So according to leaks, this is what we can expect the Nintendo Switch console to look like here. So obviously you're going to note that some of the models look just a tad bit different than the others. As we expect, when the Nintendo Switch 2 launches, we anticipate there will be 3 models at the launch, right? There will be the gray that you see, the more dark polished look, looks more like the OG Nintendo Switch console, like the one that launched in 2017. There's the white Nintendo Switch 2, and then apparently there's this Mark 9 is what it's being called. So it looks pretty similar, but also just a tad bit different compared to the last Nintendo Switch. It might be a little hard to make out, but the Joy-Con design looks like it's still there. Pretty similar to what we saw on the original Nintendo Switch. The controllers kind of slide off the side of the console. Now, one of the massive issues with the Nintendo Switch 1 that appears, according to the leaks, to be getting pretty significantly addressed by Nintendo here is the massive Joy-Con production problems that caused probably instant stick drift for a pretty good portion of the people who had Nintendo Switches. So for me, when I ended up getting my Switch, which it was in 2019, I didn't have one when it first came out, but I got my Switch in 2019, and literally right out of the box, the left Joy-Con had stick drift, and it wasn't super bad when it first started, but it inevitably got worse over time. Now, this was a massive flaw in the production of the first Nintendo Switch, but apparently with this Nintendo Switch 2, they're moving to magnetic Joy-Cons with Hall effect sticks. Now, I don't know a ton about Hall effect sticks, but from what I've read online, apparently they mechanically operate differently than analog sticks, and they are way more durable. They're supposed to last way longer, and this is obviously something that they needed to address. This was I don't want to say fatal flaw with the Nintendo Switch, but I mean, it's pretty insane to think, right? You can buy the console right out of the box, the controllers would be fucked up, and you have to go buy another pair of $70 Joy-Cons or something to basically remedy a problem that it had out of the box. So if this is true, if this Hall effect sticks, magnetic Joy-Cons thing is reality here, and we're going to be getting more durable, longer lasting Joy-Cons, that is already a massive improvement in my opinion to the last Switch. That is probably to me one of the biggest issues, right? Even when I had friends come over, we'd have some drinks or whatever, they'd bring their Switch and it's oh, let's hook it up to the TV and play Mario Kart, bro. If you didn't have perfect Joy-Cons, that shit was so aggravating. So for this is a massive improvement for me. Apparently also at launch, the leaks suggest we will be getting Mario Kart 9. Now, Mario Kart is obviously a massive seller for Nintendo and all of their products, even going back decades at this point, but this will be obviously a massive launch title. There will probably also be other games at launch. They just haven't been revealed or leaked or whatever yet. Maybe some ports of the more recent Switch games. We've kind of seen that throughout the history of Nintendo, those games that kind of released in the last year or two of a console's life cycle oftentimes will be carried over to the new console with a new release or whatever. So hopefully we'll see that as well. Apparently we will be learning more about the Nintendo Switch 2 in just a couple of weeks. The leaks also suggest that the reveal reveal and announcement by Nintendo for the Nintendo Switch 2 will be coming next month in January 2025. So I think a lot of the details that we know now will probably be confirmed by Nintendo there. Maybe even some more details that we don't know yet that will be either positive or negative for the console. We'll be learning from Nintendo over the next couple of weeks. So also, apparently, the game cartridge system for the Nintendo Switch 2 will be the same as the first Switch. So don't expect them to, like, I guess, go to DVD or CD or Blu-ray or digital only, any of that stuff, right? Apparently, they're going to be going with the same tried and true cartridge system, which personally I actually like. Now, I know there's a lot of critics, they're like, oh, the game cartridge system is outdated. I think that's one of those, like, quirks that Nintendo has that personally I really enjoy. It's like, it feels like almost nostalgic in a way. Obviously, you know, if you grew up like with the NES and back in the day, like you dealt with cartridges, old computers, you dealt with cartridges like before floppy disks and around that time and shit. And then obviously with like the DS and shit in the 2000s, it's like, it's a pretty cool tradition, I think, that Nintendo has kind of kept on with the cartridges. I would assume as well that if they're going to keep the same game cart system, that basically Switch 1 cartridges will probably also work on too. That is obviously going to be a huge selling point. If you can just pop your Nintendo Switch titles right into your Nintendo Switch 2, that would obviously sell a lot of people. I would love to play like Mario Odyssey or something on my Switch 2. I think that would be pretty cool. Also, we should expect apparently a curved dock for the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, there's not really, at least from what I've been able to find, any like real images that show the curved dock. It's kind of just like side angles where it's more of like a flat display. You don't really see much of the curvature. Little bit of a standout, design standout, I should say, from the first Nintendo Switch, which obviously the dock is more like square and it's kind of bulky. So apparently it'll be more curved, a little bit more modern looking, maybe a little more sleek if that really matters to you. Personally, not a huge detail for me if it doesn't affect performance or anything, which I don't see it doing. Now, one drawback that I see and a lot of other people are kind of pointing out right here off the jump is the Nintendo Switch 2 leaks indicate that it will have an LCD screen instead of an OLED screen. So if you didn't know, the original Nintendo Switch when it launched had the LCD screen. Then in 2021, they came out with a new model of the Switch that had the OLED screen. OLED usually, you know, it has better contrast for graphics because it's not backlit. Everything is like individually lit itself by the pixels and whatnot. But OLED displays have kind of become more of like what people want, right? Like even TVs and shit, people want OLED, right? It's just kind of like the more modern display, if that makes sense. But apparently they're going back to the LCD for the Switch 2, which personally, I don't want to say that that's like a fatal flaw or like a huge drawback, but definitely isn't great news in my opinion. Now, it is possible that if this like, whole similar situation to the Switch happens, maybe in a year or a couple of years, Nintendo will come out with like an upgraded version of the 2 that has an OLED screen. But I think that it would have been a huge thing for the Switch 2 if it actually, kept up and had that right now at launch. Apparently, there will also be larger buttons on the 2 if you're somebody like me who, you got big fucking thumbs and fingers and you fat finger shit pretty frequently, right? Your hands are bigger than usual, maybe this will be better for you since the buttons will be a little bit larger. I assume maybe a little, not spread out, but, maybe the design will be a little bit better for people like that, right? With the larger buttons. So a lot of people obviously are really hyped up, really excited for the Switch 2, myself included. Now, personally, I like the Steam Deck. That's my favorite handheld right now. I've been playing the Steam Deck a lot more than my Switch. I think that the Steam Deck's technology is pretty impressive. Obviously, the game library working seamlessly with Valve and emulators and whatnot is phenomenal. But I'll probably also personally pick up a Switch 2. Now, will it live up to the hype? Can it even supersede, I would say, the hype and the acclaim that the Switch 1 had? I think it's going to depend. We'll have to really wait to see because a lot of what really kind of makes a console in the grand scheme of things is the game library. Now, one thing working in Nintendo's favor is they have a fucking phenomenal, damn near perfect first-party lineup of games. I mean, Mario, Kirby, Zelda, just all these different iconic fucking like Nintendo franchises that they can bring. Obviously, they're talking Mario Kart 9 will be there at launch. I mean, Nintendo, they're always putting out good games, right? Like, every time a Legend of Zelda game drops, I know personally I'm gonna be enjoying that shit, right? There has never been a Zelda game that I actually truly disliked playing. Damn near the same thing for Super Mario, right? Like, back on the first Switch, like Breath of the Wild, that's widely considered one of the best games of all time. My personal favorite off of the first Switch is Super Mario Odyssey. I don't know what it is about Odyssey, but I fucking love it. Like, it to me is a phenomenal fucking game. And so for Nintendo, they already have all that shit in their back pocket, right? So when it comes to that game library, I'm pretty confident, you should be pretty confident, there's gonna be a pretty great game lineup for it. Now, the tech itself, I think it makes pretty major improvements over the first iteration of the Switch. Obviously, it's also about that time that we get a new refreshed Switch, because the first Switch came out in 2017. It's been, 7 going on 8 years now since that released, and sure, they've done the refresh consoles with like the OLED, the like smaller Switch and shit like that, or the Lite, I think it's called. But even then, right, like I said, the Steam Deck has come out since then. There's other handhelds on the market now. There's also rumors that Sony might be trying to come back into the handheld market over the next few years with their own dedicated handheld console. It really is about that time for us to be getting the Switch 2. Now, when it comes to sales, it's going to be pretty hard to beat the Nintendo Switch. Now, I'm not going to say it's impossible, because I don't think anyone really saw the first Switch actually hitting the milestones that it's hit so quickly. But even then, right, like, I don't ever want to rule that out. The first Switch, like I said, is eclipsing 150 million units sold. The PlayStation 2 is the best-selling console of all time. I think it has now eclipsed 200 million units, if I'm not mistaken. You got to think that shit came out all the way back around the turn of the century, right? It's been 20 years, and that's when it hit the number. The Switch has been out for less than half that time, and it's already caught up pretty well. Now, obviously, this thing is going to sell pretty goddamn well regardless, just because it's a Nintendo product, just because it has that Switch name, just because it's probably going to have a great library of games. Personally, I'm pretty excited. Obviously, we're going to be learning more here in the next few weeks. Well, obviously, January 2025, so what, like the next 3 to 6 weeks, we should know more. I'm assuming Nintendo will do like a massive announcement. It probably won't just be like a couple social media posts. They do like their Nintendo Direct announcements and shit. I think it'll probably be a pretty big moment in the gaming industry. I, of course, am interested to see what you guys have to say about the Switch 2 down below in the comments. Do you think it's going to be great? Is there anything that you are worried about with this console? Let me know down below. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 leaks and signing out.